My name is Jon Cimino, aka Jon Grimlock, aka Jon Lock. I was in the band Grimlock from Boston, Massachusetts. My real name is Giovanni Bernardo Sanchez Cimino. Nobody wants to talk that way. I couldn't even remember that. So then eventually it became Johnny Cimino. Then it became Jon Cimino. And then Jon Lock, Jon Grimlock. And now we got the Mego Stretch Hulk, which is my pen name because I write for all these great and big comic magazines. But it actually means it's my two favorite toys combined into one. The Mego Elastic Hulk from 1979. That was the greatest toy ever made. But then there was an offshoot in Europe called the Dennis Fisher Stretch Hulk, and that came out at the same time. Blew my mind. Wanted it my entire life when I was a kid. So what could I do better than putting the Mego Stretch Hulk in one word? You know, you got the Elastic Hulk there, and you got the Stretch Hulk, all combined. Mego Stretch Hulk. Don't forget it. How's chaos. Controlled chaos. Musically, I was inspired by Jim Morrison and the Doors, a little bit of Phil Anselmo, and believe it or not, a little bit of Marky Mark. All right, Grimlock started through comic books, cartoons, and collectibles, and then a little bit of sprinkle of metal. That's where it actually started from. We started out of actually Amherst, Massachusetts, because my bass player, friend of mine, Matt Murdahl, was going there, and he was in a band, and we were trying to get into a band together. But when I finally moved out there with him, you know, Amherst, Mass, Northampton, Mass, it was a good scene of people were playing music, and it was a good place where I could start a band. So a lot of other musicians were coming out of there, so it was easy to acquire other people, and everybody was kind of in bands and all that stuff. So that's how we kind of formed, and I kind of made it known. I got taught to, like, you know, you put your name on a number saying, I said, hardcore singer, more crazier than anyone else, looking for band, and I would put them at the colleges and all that shit, and they would come and all around, and they would come and you know, you get a call. Some people would come, and I remember we got this one guitar player, this young kid. He comes, wanted to be in a band so bad, couldn't play a note. He tried to play a couple of E chords, and I remember saying to my roommate, he can't even fucking play. I was like, this is horrible. Like, I couldn't believe it, and I can't play either, but he couldn't play. That's where it comes out of. Boom. First off, the Boston hardcore scene was always very prominent. I wasn't big into it, but I had a friend of mine that was a grade ahead of me that he played in a band, and I thought that was crazy. Like, I just couldn't believe it. When I was younger, I just thought like you had to be a millionaire and you're in a band, but I realized that never was the case. But he was in this band in Boston, and I thought that it was possible that, not that I really cared about playing the music, but he got attention from a lot of girls, so I wanted to get the same attention from the girls, so that's why I did it. First Grimlock, we were on Pin Drop Records with Bill Cole, with Hold Strong, and a few other bands and stuff. And we did the little 7-inch Thirst for Immortality. Great fucking name, too. So we were on that by releasing the 7-inch, but then we almost got signed by, I hate to say the name, I'm just going to call him Haji. There was a kid that I actually paid for Songs of Self, and he paid for a little bit of us to record that. But I don't know know what the name of the label was, or it was just good intentions or bad intentions, but it turned out to be bad intentions because nothing ever came about that. And so Pin Drop kind of came back into the fold, and we put out that first album. And then after that first album, you know, it was kind of underground. There wasn't really much money and stuff. But then we got a call from Dan Gump, I think it was his name, because Matt knew him, and he wanted to sign it. He was a fan of our stuff, and he was starting a label and all that stuff, and he wanted to get us. And hey, we knew Pin Drop was kind of like, you know, small, but this was a little bigger, and it might have been, you know, more opportunity for us. So that's how we got onto Life Sentence and all that, because Dan was a big fan of ours, and then we got into that, and it took us to the next level. It's a straight edge label because I know Dan, I think, was straight edge. Now, I'm going to be very clear about this. I don't label myself anything other than a super duper hero. But what I never labeled myself straight edge or anything, because in the scene back then that was kind of heavy. I've never drank, never smoked, never did a drug in my entire life. I've never drank coffee in my entire life. I haven't drank soda in maybe 30 years. I've always been the pinnacle of health, always. This explosive personality is all natural. But I never labeled myself, because some of my other band members drank and some wanted to be straight, whatever. But I never labeled myself that, so it never mattered to me. I lived that healthy lifestyle, but I never cared about being that. So, and Dan was very open with that, because back in those times, you know, it kind of mattered if you were or not. I never put myself in a box because I got an explosive personality, and nobody can box this motherfucker. Phil Example said he was the kid. No, I'm the fucking kid.
Pretend you got me. You don't know me. So quick to tell me. I'm wrong. Think I'm wrong. Think I'm wrong.
Nah, he didn't care. Dan was good about that. Like I said, we weren't very like party drug riddled kid. We didn't care about that. We just wanted to play the music, kick ass, and have a good time. And so I never cared when people were straight edge, people weren't, because I'll tell you something was very interesting. When we would go down to Utah, all those Mormons and all those straight edge Mormons, they all loved us and they wanted us to represent them. But then when we went to Colorado, they wanted us, and they were kind of more, they pot smoking and having a good time, and they wanted us to represent them. I told them, we represent everybody. Grimlock is a universal love. As long as you're going to rock, break your nose to us, kick ass, that's what you're going to get from us. I didn't care. Woo! That's all we ever had was troubles. I mean, we had 11 guys, or maybe more, like in the back of a Ryder van, going all across the country, no heat, no ventilation, that sometimes you stop in these neighborhoods and we stole like a hammock, and then we had like an infestation that came from this hammock. We thought that was so cool to have the hammock, but it sucked because you kept shaking around and all that crap. But that's all there was problems, all that. But you got to look at it this way. That's trudging through. That's trudging through the scene, trudging to make it. That's all expected. It used to hurt other people more, but I kind of liked it because, we were nothing, but it was still fun being out there and living life on your terms, that you didn't have to answer to anybody, and it was kind of cool. So I remember one time I remember going on somebody's lawn. They had a sprinkler, and I remember I was just like, you know what? I can't take this anymore. I got to finally take a shower. It's probably been weeks. You take those Italian showers and you clean yourself, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I got butt naked. I got all the soap, and I went right on their lawn, and I just started with their sprinkler. All of a sudden, the cops come everywhere. They're like, "What the hell are you doing?" I was like, "I'm sorry. I just had to take a shower. I just needed to take a shower." So that was a bad experience. I'll tell you one more. This is something. We were in Hardee's, I think down in Kansas City, and we were just in Hardee's because you stop through and go into wherever you're going, and we're sitting there and we're opening up all ventilation. You smell like ass and all this stuff. All of a sudden, all these cars come, boop, 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 like these guys came out. Go, sit down, get down, get down. Guys in suits. We were like, what the hell? We didn't know. They told us all to get down. What it turned out being was they were scoping that area for drugs, for a long time, and they thought we were the drug dealers because we're counting this money we have. Like, they didn't know we have all this stuff packed up. We're in this van, all these weird-looking, ugly kids, all dirty and filthy, and all that shit. What are they doing? They put out a gun and all that. And I said, hey, listen, they were the FBI, and they said, you know, they were scoping us out, and I showed them what we were doing because, you know, we had some money on us too. They thought we were counting drug money. So when they did that, and they just told us, they were so embarrassed. They said, just get your shit and get the fuck out of here right now. We were just going through. We packed up our stuff and we left. That was some scary shit. So was that a bad thing or a good thing? I don't know. Grimlock was, you know, I was the nucleus of the band. Like, it all kind of revolved around me. It was me and Matt and stuff, and it was our dream to, like, start a band and all that. But you got to remember, okay, a lot of the problems with Grimlock, you know, we had a lot of band members that came in and out and all that stuff. But see, I'm going to have to blame the most on me because I was never really a fan of hardcore music. I never really was. I liked heavy music. I loved the chaos. I loved the dance. I loved the groove, the power groove, and I love people killing themselves. I got off on that, but I never listened to the music. I never cared. I'm a Doors fan. Give me Doors, and that's it. And I can listen to that forever. And that's a big difference between hardcore and Doors. But so I kind of got tired of it, you know, because like I said, it wasn't my passion, and I felt sad because it was all the other guys' passion. And as our star kind of started rising a little bit, and I know we started making traction, and I just kind of lost interest. My goal was always to be in the comic industry, to be something in that, and that's what I kind of geared my life to, and why I'm successful today. What I do right now, I'm an agent, promoter, and manager of all the big creators in the comic industry, which my biggest agent and blood brother, Roy Thomas, co-creator of Wolverine, Carol Danvers, Morbius, making Hollywood billions of dollars. We go all around the world, and we go to these Comic Cons, we sign autographs, have a good time. I also write for the biggest comic magazines in the world, Jack Kirby Collector, Alter Ego, which is the most respected comic magazine in the world, Retro Fan, which is my favorite, and a few others. But that's what I do today, and I also do work with Roy. I oversee his estate and everything, and so that is what I do. So I'm still on the go. I still do the circuits. I love the traveling aspect. I love all that. And you want to know another thing is, I make a shitload of money. But no more music and all that stuff. Like I said before, I get offers and all that stuff, and now with money involved and tour and all that stuff. But I'm not into that anymore. This is what I always wanted to be in. I'm a comic man. You cut me, I bleed Stan Lee, I bleed Roy Thomas, I bleed Jack Kirby, and I bleed Steve Ditko. And I think if you squeeze hard enough, a Hulk #1 will come squishing out of there. To be honest, unless you've been in it all the way, it's kind of hard because it's a young man's game, and you're talking about revolution and fuck the man. I like the man. I make a lot of money with the man now, and it's kind of hard to go back to being 20 years old, 18 years old, and saying, fuck the man, kick that. No, you're going to realize in life that's great when you're young, but when you get older and stuff, you got to get a job, and you got to go out in the real world. You know, I got my house, I got my kids, I got all that stuff. So it's kind of hard when you're screaming about revolution. Rock and roll, hardcore is a young man's game. So when I see a lot of these guys that try to come back to it, not the guys who've been all the way through it and they're still doing it, hey, props to them. But when you come back to try to live the dream and tell the kids to fuck everything, yeah, because you know, punk rock, I'm not about that anymore. And you want to know something? I look better than all those guys, even young too. I'm still ripped to shreds, still healthy as a motherfucker, and I can outlast anybody. You put anybody against me, you know that, we'll have push-ups, we'll do that, we'll even have a wrestling match. Let's fucking do it, man. Let's do it. My daughter, Bryn Isabella Cimino, who happened to become, because of my connections and stuff, she's very talented and all that, she became the youngest artist to be printed and paid for in the history of comic books. She became that, so with that, I live vicariously through her. I live this dream life of just comic books and travel and all that stuff, so I think it's a good inspiration. So basically my life right now is living life on my terms. What I tried to do with Grimlock, or with basically what we all try to do in the punk scene and stuff, you live life on your terms and saying, and not having to answer to anybody. That's what I do now, but in the industry that I love. But it's also inspiring to my daughter, and that's what I love more than everything, that she can look to me and she can see that your dreams are out there. Hey, it pays interest when I take her to these parties and all these celebrities are all there and all that stuff, and it's kind of like, yeah, these are the people I hang with, you know? I mean, not that I give a crap, but it's like, you know, it's good to be in their company, you know? And it's a good inspiration for her. Hard work makes it. I've never been given everything, just like the music and just like all these other bands that come from the hardcore scene. I give them 100% props, because we all come from nothing. We're just trying to live this dream and trying to say our piece. I'm just doing it in another avenue and all that stuff, and I'm making a shitload of money on that. Did I ever say that? Did I say that before? I'm actually in Stan Lee's biography now. I'm a part of his life because I did something that was so great. Because if you want to talk about Stan Lee, I was going to be the guy to represent Stan Lee before the state stepped in and they took him away, because he had a lot of bad people around him and stuff. But Roy advocated for me to have Stan Lee in my circle. But what I did was I got Roy and Stan together literally less than 48 hours before he died. Stan didn't want to see anybody, but he wanted to see me and Roy. So we went to go visit him. We sat down with him for a half hour. Now think about this, the God of gods, and I'm sitting there as a young kid and saying, holy moly. And what it turned out with, let me show you this right here. It'll make you, oh, it's actually right here. Right here, that's the, show that nice and close. That's the last photo ever taken of Stan Lee right before he died. Me, Roy, and Stan. And I'll show you something. If you look closely, look at the shirt I got on. I got a Grimlock shirt on. The reason why I did that was because that was a big thing in my past life, and I knew I was coming to see Stan, and I kind of wanted everything that took me to get to that moment, and that was one of the things for Stan, and so I actually put that in there. And I remember I get written to by a lot of fans and all that, and they would be like, I can't believe that picture is like a Grimlock shirt. Grimlock is in there with the last photo ever of Stan Lee. So this was less than 48 hours before he died. The last photo he ever took, me, Roy, and Stan Lee hanging it out and just having a good time, and two old friends, and just so you know, see how I'm in the middle there? Stan told me to sit in the middle right there. So that was awesome. I'm gonna get a little teary-eyed because that just shows you how far I reached for my dreams, and it did start with Grimlock. And one more thing, and if you look closely, there's a little bow, and there's a little bow. It's different. I always wear bows here, and they were my daughter's when she was a little kid. And what I ended up doing is I included that there too, so my daughter could be with me. And I took that to Paris, that bow to Paris just a few weeks ago, and I flew it into Jim Morrison's grave. So Stan Lee, my daughter, Jim Morrison, Grimlock, all combined into one, right there. So that's what Grimlock has led me to. Living your dreams, baby. It taught me to work hard for something, to be something of myself, and that's what got me into this business. Listen, in 5 years, I'm probably the biggest agent in the comic industry ever. And I only did it in 5 years, and there's other freaks, sociopaths, narcissists, and killers, legit, that have been here for 20, 30 years, and they don't understand, what the hell is this guy doing here? How does he have access to all these guys? Hard work, know-how, honesty. That's the stuff that hardcore kind of brought out. Be honest. I was always real up there on stage. I almost died. That's why I could do it better than anybody else. And that's the goddamn truth. Because I didn't play by proposing. I played with my heart and my fucking an erection that was so hard, and it was lived. That's hardcore for me, and that's what it did for me. That's what it done. Boom.